Well, we got our trench dug, we got our head opened up, we got our hole laid out. God made me good with the torch, so I'm going to use the torch to knock out the hole. But you can hole saw these if you're patient. So do whatever you're best with. God made me good with a torch. Dad made me good at heckling you if you're not good with a torch. It's all meant to help. Trust me. We're going to change the torch jig. This guy's pretty clever. And we'll torch out just like that. Use this exact motion. Now you got to clean this up real nice with your die grinder, inside and out. I'm going to use the die grinder with the internal dingle ball and take off any of the inside slag. I can feel a tiny bit right here. Nice, real nice. No slag left at all on the inside or the outside. And yes, it does fall to the bottom of the well. It's steel, it's heavy, it sinks to the bottom into the mud. Let's see if the Pitless Adapter fits. It goes in from the other way, this sticks out. I'm going to test the size of the hole. It's just a tad snug. Well, that did it. Real nice snug fit. Here's the torch jig I used. It's got a little point right here. Your point is your center. That goes in, and you can do a real nice circle. We got a real nice prep job inside and out. It's smooth to the hand all the way around. This is important. We want our wheel cap to sit on real nice. This needs to be a nice clean surface here. This is a compression cap. As we tighten the nuts, it compresses this big gasket inside here. Seals down on the well casing. A 1-inch threaded port for our conduit to come in, and a screened off vent. There's a stainless steel screened vent in there. This is a decent quality cap here. The 1-inch threaded inlet for conduit wire comes in through here, through a big grommet up top. Even up here at the top is grommet protected, so the wires will rest on a rubber grommet. The wires won't even touch the steel. There's a nice rubber grommet up here. Well, the first thing we're going to do, thread in the check valve, thread in the nipple, thread in the bushing, then thread in the drop pipe. This is schedule 120 PVC drop pipe. Then we're going to connect the wires. We're going to use the hydraulic splicer, the hydraulic crimper to splice the wires. And then we're going to heat shrink them using the heat gun. Use a quality putty, do a real sanitary job, wipe it down, use the air compressor if you have to. Keep it real clean, real sanitary. Be real careful on this step. Try not to mar or chafe your pipe real bad. This is one of the weaker points right here. This is PVC drop pipe. Notice the bell and the extra collar. The extra collar is for strength. The threads are down here. It goes all the way in past the collar before it begins to thread. Different from normal PVC threaded fittings where they thread immediately. And different from normal PVC glue-on bells. You can see bell, but collar, that's the extra strength. This is specific purpose pipe. It's made for going down the well only. It's not intended to be used as your water line. It's not intended to be used for irrigation. It's intended to be used as drop pipe only, going down the well. When you make your wire splice, try to keep your lower wires good and straight. Try not to let them bunch up in a wad and get all tangled up. I always do 2 heat shrinks. This is the first one right here over the connection, and then I'll slide up this other one. After I heat that, I'll take these ones and slide them up over that and do a double heat shrink. That's about a 2-inch piece. That's about a 4-inch piece. Just gives extra heat shrink watertight protection. Well, there's the first 4 heat shrunk down. You could see the waterproofing coming out the back. I always use a heat gun. You can use a torch or do it any way you want, but I like the heat gun. Now that we got these 4, we'll slide on down these 4 and double up over those connectors. We're going to clamp the torque arrestor on down here to the bottom. This is a 2-piece. Clamps on from both sides and then expands out and down. We'll finish that up when we get it hanging. I always put a piece of tape under here, and then we'll start securing our wires, and then this will secure the top of the torque arrestor. Keep the head of the clamp on the opposite side of your wires. Head of clamp, wires on the bottom. We got the boom set up. The high pulley, of course, is to pull the pipe straight up. The middle pulley is for the wires. It helps keep the wires vertical on the pipe, so as we go down, the wires will always be vertical right alongside me. Makes it real easy to tape up. Well, we're going to hoist this piece up, which will raise our pump, and when we have it suspended, we'll finish the torque arrestor and tape up the wires. Well, we got the pump dangling. Let's drop it in, adjust the torque arrestor, and send it down. We're going to expand the torque arrestor out now. Make sure you're free on your wires. Expand it so it just barely touches the side of the casing. Well, we got our first piece with the pump on it suspended down in there, held in by the pipe elevator. You can see piece number 2 just to the left of it dangling, and it is pulled to the top with the second pipe elevator. You need a pair of elevators to do this. We'll connect on the second pipe, pull off that first elevator, and then lower it on down, piece by piece, 20 feet at a time. just hit the obstruction and I made it through. Had to steal the rope lock off the boat. Sorry boat, but we took your rope lock. Well, we're at 120 feet. I'm going to show you the procedure between switching pipes and switching the elevators. First thing I'm going to do is get this guy lifted up so we can remove this elevator. Lock it into my quick lock. Do a couple safety wraps. We're going to take our elevators off to switch our elevators. We're going to put it on our other pipe. Clean out the threads. Secure our wires to the pipe. And now we're going to lower on down. And we'll stop at our next wire tape spot. Secure the wires. Continue lowering. Stop here to secure the wire again. Lower down, and this time it'll rest on that elevator. And now we switch to the next section of pipe. And we'll hoist it up. Lock it into the quick lock, a couple of safety wraps. These come capped, which is real nice for a sanitary cap. Clean out thread. Now we're back to putty, tightening it up, removing the elevator, and lowering back down. guy down in here. We'll drop our elevator a few inches at the top so we have a little slack. Lock in the bottom wrench. A little wire slack going. And then a nice gentle wrench action until it bottoms out. Right there. And we're back to where we started. Well, I've made it to the depth of 300 feet. We're going to finish with the brass nipple and the pitless adapter. I do this part last because this will always fill up with trash if you do it first. This is a small well, so it's easy to go down. It's easy to put all this in. You can put your pitless adapter in first. You can install this half like you're supposed to, but this will get full of trash when you install the drop pipe. So you have to have a way to clean this out. Garden hose, air compressor, some way to clean the trash out of here that falls in here. It's a nice snug fit. It'll stay together. I'll put it together, put the T-bar on, lower the whole thing down, and pull it right in our hole. Put the nut and washer on. It'll be pretty simple that way. Most people install that part first, but just for sanitation and simplicity. This is only 300 feet, so it's not real bad, but if it was bigger or if it was deeper, you would want to install this first and make sure you have a way to clean it out. I'm going to thread in the 1-inch T-bar to the pitless adapter. We'll clip on and we'll hoist up. This T-bar is just an installation vessel. All it's doing is installing this video. Here I go. Come on, baby. Get under there. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. The only way was to tap it. Pull this guy. Pull that off. Yes, sir. Pull that rag out of there. Alrighty, John. See you down there. See you down there. Halfway to you. Do a real slow controlled drop. About a foot. It's kind of close. A little more. Trying to work it to you. Yeah! Fucking A, Ray. And then the nut. Outstanding. Outstanding. And I'm going to keep the weight on the support rope up here until we lock that guy down. Alright, well, we're in with the pitless adapter. We can take the weight off the T-bar now because the weight is half and half. It's still on the boom, but we're locked in down here with the pitless adapter. Pitless adapters are rated for weight. This one's rated for 2,000 pounds. So you always want to be mindful of the weight rating of your pitless adapter. Get a close-up of it down here. There's a gasket back there that's sandwiched. The curved washer fits the profile of the curved pipe, and then the nut locks everything down. You thread in internally. It's internal threaded, 1-inch internal threads. You're not threading to these external threads. That's strictly for the nut. You thread into the inside with a 1-inch. We're still very tight right here, so now I'm going to take the tension off the T-bar adapter and we're going to be 100% on our pitless adapter. Unthread your T-bar. And now we're down to electrical and plumbing. You could say the well and the pump are installed. Well, I got our water line plumbed into the pitless adapter. 1-inch PVC runs from the pitless adapter. It's going to be a pump house sitting right here. Right here gets a pump house, right in this area. So this will keep going up into the pump house. The pressure tank will go in the pump house, and the switches and stuff will go in the pump house. I got to set up temporary right now. I need some dust control and some water out here. I got to soak this area. I really need water, like now. Use something to support your pipe before your backfill. You don't want to crush your pipe, smash your pipe way down there, so use some wood blocks or something. I'm going to do the well cap and conduit now. I got the well cap in half. Here's the lower half and gasket, here's the upper half. That's just the top piece. I'm going to take our wire. We have it cut to length already, plus a few feet. We're going to come through. Now whatever you do, don't drop it. Pour your slack through. Work your gasket on. We're going to position it just beside the PVC. We're going to thread in the conduit male adapter. Bring our conduit up. Real important to deburr your conduit fittings inside and outside. Really helps pull the wire and glue your fittings on. The water line comes in square, the conduit comes in just to the side. Real nice and free. Sits up at an elevation close to the water line. We'll fish tape back through and up, and we'll pull the wire back through the conduit to our control box. Well, the conduit's plumbed in. It stays clear just enough to work the pitless adapter if you ever had to do any work there. Runs parallel along the pipe and up to our power supply. We'll fish tape from here down to here, hook onto the wire, and pull the wire back through. Always tape up the reverse end in case you got to pull it back out. You don't want to get it snagged right here trying to reverse pull it out in case something happened. The best lubricant you can get for pulling wire is spray butter. Butter it up real nice now. We got the conduit plumbed, the wires pulled. We're going to put our cap on now, put their bolts on, suck it together. The wire sits real nice, a lot of slack, no obstructions, nothing's pinching. Here's a close-up. You can see the wires come right out of the well and then right down into the conduit. Protected by the gasket here. When you tighten these down, it'll compress the gasket making a real snug, real good seal onto the wellhead. Always run your power in conduit. I can't tell you how many of these we've dug up in the center. We'll dig up somewhere right in here to run a new supply line somewhere, and the builder will have ran out of conduit, so he'll run 1-inch PVC right alongside the water line. You don't know which one's which when you go to tap into it. There's a few clever methods to tell between the two, but if you just run conduit, it would avoid the whole problem. If you have a 2-wire pump, 2 conductors in the ground, then you can automate the whole thing with the most basic pressure switches like these. You can automate and run the whole thing with these most basic pressure switch and a pressure tank. You don't even need to go that big. You could go with a little bitty one and you'll be able to automate the whole setup. I'm using a little different setup. I'm using a digital pressure switch. This one would mount right here where the digital one's mounted. You can see the water comes up and into the digital or the standard pressure switch. You can use either one. I prefer the digital just because it's cooler. The digital switch does offer some features that the standard pressure switch doesn't, so not only is it cooler, it's also a little more user friendly. If you have the 3-wire pump like I do, the 3 conductors in the ground, you have to run a pump box or a pump start box. That turns your 2 hot wires into 3 wires, 2 hot and a start. It relocates the start capacitor up here in the box instead of in the pump down at the bottom of the well. This can save you time and diagnostics and money if your problem's right here. You can replace here instead of down at the bottom of the well. Super simple wiring, 2 hot leads come in, and then here's your pump wires over here, color coded, red, yellow, black, and ground down here. It pulls the red wire for startup. That's hot drain startup only. The cover piece holds the capacitor and the contacts, so be mindful of these wires up here. You shouldn't leave a bunch of wires up here because they can interfere with this stuff. And you'll feel the contacts push in. It snaps right in. For the digital pressure switch, here's our power source, here's our breaker panel up here. We got power coming into the switch, which turns on and off depending on our pressure. Comes out of the switch to our pump box, from our pump box to our pump in the bottom of the well. This runs straight to our well pump. Source, switch, pump box, straight down to well pump. We got a water spigot and a pressure gauge down here, and we also have a digital pressure readout on the pressure switch here. Very user-friendly device right here. You can program the features that you never could program in the classic pressure switch. Instead of turning the nuts and bolts to make the adjustments, you just push the buttons up and down. When you do startup for the first time, you got to have your tank closed off, open up the water, fire up the pump. It'll take a while. The first time timed out for me. It took too long for any pressure to even make it to the switch, so it times out. Shut the power off, start it up one more time, and the second time it came up fast enough and built water pressure. Shut it off slowly, let it slowly build to its max. You need to know that for your differential settings. Let's go ahead and fire this thing up. Power came on, display came on. It's still pressurized, so it's still holding pressure from last time. Let's take a look at what we're reading. We're reading 34 on the readout. You can see our buttons to program it. And then down here on the gauge we're reading, looks like 38. So we're about 4 to 5 pounds difference between the 2 gauges. Let's run some water. We got water. This is great. Oh, and it's cold too. Cold water from the bottom of the earth. This is a gift from not the heavens, but the underworld. I'm going to turn the faucet on and see what it does to our water. We're dropping. We'll see if we can tell when it clicks on. I believe I had it set for 20, 45 or 25, 45. Not 25. Must be 20. I bet we'll hear it click. There we go. We clicked on. And now it'll start building